in. Now let's get to the trade that happened over the weekend. The Big Apple blockbuster Dexter Lawrence is now a Cincinnati Bengal. There he is, taking in the new digs after the seismic trade. Bengals getting Lawrence in exchange for the 10th pick in this year's draft. Lawrence and Cincinnati then agreeing to a one-year extension, locks him in through 2028. And here he is talking about his motivation to perform at an all-time high.
They wanted me here, and they appreciated the work that I've put in over the last 7 seasons. And, I appreciate that to them. And I'm going to do everything I can to, show them that they didn't waste it. And I'm excited. I got a fire in me that I ain't never had this fire before.
Okay, so it's a fascinating trade. Adam Schefter, I want to do both sides of it one at a time. Let's start with the Cincinnati side of it. It's a lot to give up, the 10th pick in the draft for Dexter Lawrence. Take us through it.
Greeny, there are two things to keep in mind here. This is a critical season for Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. There are a lot of people around the league who feel like the Bengals must do what they have to do to keep him happy. If we go back to the offseason last year, Joe Burrow wanted the Bengals to retain both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And voila, the Bengals re-signed both wide receivers. Well, the Bengals, Joe Burrow wants the Bengals to return to glory, return to their winning ways, and the Bengals know that. So they assessed it and decided that they were better off trading the 10th overall pick in this draft for Dexter Lawrence, whose performance was down last year, but if we go back to a couple of seasons before that, when he was constantly double-teamed, was a major factor in the middle of the New York Giants' defensive line. The Bengals are doing what they can here to make their team competitive, to give them the best player they could get with the 10th overall pick, and to make sure that they try to win this year to keep Joe Burrow happy. Because one of the biggest questions entering the 2026 NFL season will be how this Cincinnati team performs and how it impacts Joe Burrow's thinking in terms of his long-term plans in Cincinnati. If there's another season that goes south, it's hard to imagine that Joe Burrow would be particularly pleased with that, and that who knows what questions could arise after that. And that's why the Bengals went out and made this move for immediate action right now.
Okay, so that's an incredibly important point. Dan,
Yes.
You also brought up an interesting note in our meeting this morning about the division and the way they view it.
The Bengals perceive the division as gettable. They are literally the only team in their division that didn't change head coaches this offseason. So they're looking at the Steelers, Ravens, and Browns as teams in transition to a greater extent than they are. They've had a playoff caliber offense, some believe a Super Bowl caliber offense, the last couple of years. They've been done in by their defense. So the way they've operated this offseason has been to shore up the defense. We have consistently said over the last couple of years, if the Bengals defense could just be middle of the pack, then they would be a dangerous team in the playoffs. Dexter Lawrence is the kind of move that can make you better than middle of the pack if everything hits that they've done this offseason. So, yeah, fundamentally, this is a player that will help them in 2026 more than anyone they could have selected at number 10 overall. That's the decision they made.
What does it mean for Cincinnati, J-Mac?
It means a ton. You talk about defensively, they've made moves. Boye Mafe won a Super Bowl this past year with the Seattle Seahawks. Byron Cook, they brought over from the Kansas City Chiefs. 2-time Super Bowl winner. So not only are you getting better from a personnel standpoint, but you're bringing guys over that know what it takes to get to a Super Bowl, that championship pedigree. For Joe Burrow, he's going to be happy when he's sitting on the bench, he's watching his defense out there, he gets the ball punted to him, and he's not down 25-0, and he doesn't have to put up 30 points a game. So they made a huge impact in his happiness by being able to show up their defense.
Finally, Cincinnati's all in. Finally.
Yeah.
This is abnormal for this organization. I've been very critical of them. You got to tip your hat to them. They are going all in. Now the pressure immediately goes to Joe. And I agree with Shefty in regards to the question mark of the future. And, Cincinnati's got to prove itself. No bigger fan and champion of Joe Burrow than me. A lot's on him now. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to perform at a high level. They have committed a ton of money to the guys that he wanted, rightfully so. They have not drafted a defensive pro bowler. Actually, they've drafted one defensive pro bowler since 2010.
Yeah.
Okay, that's Jesse Bates. They have now spent more money in the last in free agency in the last 5 years. It's on Joe now to go get this done, and it's on Joe to stay healthy.
And so now let's do the other side of this. Shefty, the New York Giants now have the 5th and 10th picks in this year's draft. Fascinating in John Harbaugh's first year. Take us through it.
Well, there's a lot to get to here, Greeny. And the New York Giants had 2 building block picks. These are rare picks for John Harbaugh to have, and he's going to be looking for players to set their culture. Now, a lot of people believe the Giants have a high level of interest in the Arizona State wide receiver Jordan Tyson. They were at his private workout on Friday in Arizona. The question would be, if they don't take him at 5, will he be there at 10? And I think that's very much in question with the Browns picking 6, the Saints picking 8, the Chiefs picking 9. There are any one of those places in which Jordan Tyson could wind up, not to mention a team trading up to get him. The Giants obviously have a lot of needs to get to. They could go with one of these pass rushers, which I know some people sound crazy, but if one of the pass rushers falls down the board, it might be hard for the New York Giants to resist one of the most talented players in the draft. They'd love to have one of these Ohio State players, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles. They have a need on the offensive line. There's a lot of ways that the Giants can go, but they have 2 picks in the top 10. New York teams have 25% of the top 16 picks. Too bad the draft's not in Radio City Music Hall this week, and we'll see what the Giants decide to do with those 2 key selections, Greeny.
Talk to me.
Yeah, look, I think a lot of people had the Giants locked in on, as Adam mentions, one of those Ohio State guys, Caleb Downs, Sonny Styles at the number 5 pick. Now you have some flexibility. If Jordan Tyson is their guy that they really, really want at wide receiver, you can take him at 5 knowing you still have 10 and you're going to get maybe a defensive cornerstone player there. Having 5 and 10 gives you a lot of flexibility. Adam said if somebody wants to trade up to get, pick Jordan Tyson, the Giants could be that team at this point. They're picking 10. You could move up from 10 a couple spots pretty easily. So what you have is the Giants sort of in control of the first half of the first round on Thursday night.
Give me Jordan Tyson because I feel like I'm getting OBJ.
At 5.
Yeah.
You think he's worth it, even with the injury question?
Talent-wise, absolutely.
Yes, but that
he
isn't the
reminds
question.
me of OBJ.
Yeah.
Like these clips, when he jumps in the air, it feels like he's just levitating.
Well, that is
floating.
OBJ.
Right. No,
that is OBJ.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But we're comparing the two of them.
His ball
make sure.
tracking ability, it feels like when he bounces off the ground, he's just going higher than everybody else. His ability to kind of control his body. His tape is absolutely sensational. I know there's injuries. I get all that. I'm aware of that. But we've, for a month or so now, thought there was one dynamic offensive talent in this draft. And I was kind of leaning that way as well. And Omar Cooper Jr., nice player. After kind of restudying these guys, Jordan Tyson is so OBJ to me.
Unbelievable. For the Giants, so much of this is what's happening in the 4 picks before them. Like, where's Jeremiah Love going? Is he going, to me, for them, Adam mentioned one of the pass rushers. Is Arvell Reese there at number 5? If he is, if you're the Giants, to your point, Jordan Tyson, I love him. The OBJ comparison, great one. The hands, the ability to get open, the separation. But if Arvell Reese is there at number 5, how do you not pick him? He gives you the option of an edge rusher now to potentially what happens with Kayvon Thibodeau. On the other side of it, an off-the-ball backer, you've already brought in Edmonds to come over from Chicago. Now you have somebody to line up next to him as well. So much of this, I think we went into the draft like, the players aren't it.
Well, I'd say this. If the Arvell Reese player is there at 5 and you don't take him, you better be darn sure that you're going to get a dynamic weapon at 10.
Right.
If you're the Giants. You better love a player like a Mekhi Lemon at 10 because Neighbors is still, we'll see how long it takes Malik Neighbors to get back. You could be thinking maybe November-ish to his full strength. This is a big year for Jackson Dart. You need a dynamic player on the outside.
So I know what you're thinking. You're sitting at home and you're watching, you're thinking, well, what do you mean, what if Arvell Reese falls all the way to number 5? Well, that's what we're going to get to